All right, test, great. We have arrived at our last talk for the day. So we'll be featuring Mark, who's the co-founder of Optimism, asking or answering the questions, what will it take to scale the world, and prediction markets and ZK coprocessors as building blocks. So over to you, Mark. Thank you.
Cool, so I just want to give a shout out to pact. Thank you for having me, super appreciate it. My name is Mark, and I'm a contributor to the Optimism Collective, and I'm here to talk about retroPGF. So, really the future of retroPGF, right? Because we're building retroPGF to try to scale it to the world. Like, we want to scale public goods funding and retroactive public goods funding to the world far beyond blockchains. So why retroPGF? It's pretty simple, right? We want to grow the economy and raise the standard of living across the world. Like, what else are we doing really out there besides like trying to, live better lives? So, what is retroPGF? I like to frame retroPGF as an upgrade to capitalism, right? Because in capitalism today, there's a lot of wasted capital investment. So the main idea is that we want to reward projects after observing their impact, right? Because today, when you say give a grant, it's really unclear if the project is going to be, impactful, right? We want to basically fund projects that we know are impactful after the fact, and that will help to make sure that we're allocating capital effectively. So, like in kind of traditional startups, they kind of talk about creating value and then capturing some of that value, and like if you go to like Y Combinator or something, this is the classic advice that they'll give you. But I think that there's a problem with this, and it kind of frames it as a zero-sum game, right? Because if projects are creating value and the users are getting some of that value, and then the projects need to capture that value, then it's like if there's only a certain amount of value and the project has to capture value instead of it going to their users, there's this like zero-sum mentality built into the system, right? So I think that this is like kind of like the next step, right? We want to decouple value capture and value creation so that they're two distinct things, so that projects get to just focus on creating value and they don't necessarily need to focus on capturing value. And then the retroPGF mechanism can step in and make sure that projects that did create value are rewarded. So yeah, the big thing is it allows projects to focus on value creation. So yeah, this is like life when you can only focus on creating value and not necessarily need to like focus on like actually, capturing that value. So, retroPGF, right? Happening right now. It's round 3. So, yeah, right now we're in the voting period. Round 4 will probably happen sometime next year. But we do plan on doing this on a rolling basis, right? So, definitely come learn more if you're interested in participating in a future round. Cool. So, just to start, these are just ideas. These are not necessarily any, commitment to a roadmap or anything. But, right, what are some things that are holding back retroPGF? Right, there's this big problem of projects. They need upfront capital to cover their business expenses, right? So a lot of projects can't really participate in retroPGF right now because they need to pay their bills, right? And this is a major problem because basically right now, the only projects that can participate in retroPGF, they have to be well off enough to be able to take on the risk of potentially working for free for some number of months before some future where they possibly receive retroPGF. So there's a lot of faith involved right now in participating in retroPGF, and we want to make it easier for anyone to participate. So, solution, this idea of project token prediction markets. So, basically, what is a prediction market? Right? A prediction market is basically this market where there's like this financial instrument that exists that there's kind of upside if an event happens in the future, or downside if an event doesn't happen in the future. And this is like incredibly simplified of an explanation. Prediction markets can be much more complicated, but yeah, very simple example, right? Like you can bet if something is going to happen, and then the token's price will resolve to $1, and if it doesn't happen, it goes to 0, right? So there's a bunch of different prediction markets today that exist. Poly market is used today. I believe they're on Polygon. And then Augur, they're kind of like a OG project. And then there's Predict It. They're not necessarily in the crypto space, but they do exist. So what is a project token, right? So we're talking about prediction markets. So a project token is a token that represents a proportionate share of a future retroPGF payout. So this ties into the prediction market scheme because basically there's no guarantee that you will get retroPGF payout, right? So you can create this project token that represents a proportionate share of a future retroPGF payout. And if you don't get the retroPGF payout, then the token is worthless. Otherwise, it is worth this proportionate share. Right? So yeah, there's a few steps here, right? The project starts off, they create this token. Then the token can be traded on the free market, right? And this basically means that the price of the token represents some probability in which the market thinks that the project will receive the retroPGF payout. So this is where it becomes interesting, right? Because when the project creators create this project token, they can instantly sell some to get some runway. And this helps to solve the problem of paying, business expenses over time, right? Before the retroPGF payout happens. So the project, they can create a token, then they can sell it to the free market. They can do like an OTC deal. They can put it into an AMM, right? And so then the speculators, right, they get the upside if the project is successful. So the people that are buying the token from the project creators, they are the ones that are taking on the risk here. And they can buy the project token at a discount today. And if the project successfully gets retroPGF, then that the token price should be redeemable at a higher value. Right. So this is a very simple diagram, right? A person creates a project token, right? And that person can put a bunch of the project token in AMM, right, for the free market to basically buy and sell, right? And then the project can then sell a bunch off to the market and then use that money as runway. There's other ways to structure this. You can sell it to an OTC desk, or find investors. Right. So yeah. So if the project receives the retroPGF, all of the tokens can be redeemed at a certain price. So you can kind of think about this in practice. What it would look like is it would look like the the retroPGF oracle or governance basically putting a buy order in for the circulating supply of the token at a particular price. And this price would just be, the total supply of the token divided by the reward, the total reward going to that project. So that kind of solves the problem, the upfront problem of needing runway. Now, there's other problems with retroPGF still. So another problem is, determining what is impactful, along with this like credible commitment to a payout schedule. So determining what is impactful, that's going to be a very difficult governance problem, basically forever. I think that we have a long way to go with like tooling. We can make some great improvements in the short term, but it'll always be contentious because different people have different values, right? And then so this credible commitment to a payout schedule, this just basically means this is like a step towards like removing trust from the system, right? And so I'll elaborate more, right? So basically the idea is using a ZK coprocessor-based payout function. And this is like, pulling some ideas in from kind of protocol design, where there's this construction called a ZK coprocessor. And basically what it is it's this service that it runs independently from the blockchain, and it pulls in the chain data. Right? And then it's able to perform operations over this chain data to kind of, spit out aggregate analytics about what has been happening on the chain, right? So what's cool about this is the results can be read into smart contracts. So an example of something that is useful that you could do with the ZK coprocessor is you can read into a smart contract how much gas a particular smart contract used in the last month, right? Like this sort of thing is not necessarily possible to do natively in a smart contract, but you can kind of use the ZK coprocessor to be able to read this information in a trustless way. And the ZK aspect of it ensures the integrity of the data, so you can know that this data is correct and it's not just something that's made up. Right, so the idea here is you can credibly commit to a payout function that is based on the chain data itself, right? So we have no risk of governance not paying out here because we're credibly committing to the payout function, and it happens automatically all on chain. So we can basically observe the impact based on the actual data. Right, so there's like a set of very impactful things which are like, that can be represented and observed by the actual usage of the chain itself, right? This is not going to capture all impact, but I think this captures a good amount of impact, especially as more and more things move on chain. Like for example, now Coinbase is moving a lot of their attestation stuff on chain. I think that the trend is going to be moving more and more on chain, so we can use this data to determine what is impactful in a credibly neutral way. Right? So basically the idea is that we use this commit reveal scheme, right? So basically what you do, you commit to this payout function, right? And this payout function, it takes the blockchain data as input. And then, as an output, it spits out who gets what payment from the retroPGF. And basically, we want to prevent farmers from farming this, so we would basically need to change the parameters every single round, right? And I kind of imagine this happening on like a quarterly basis, right? So, you take a quarter's worth of the blockchain data, and then you take it, well, first what you do is you commit to the payout function, and you let everyone know, like, this is the hash of the payout function. And then a quarter passes, and then after that, you take that quarter's worth of chain data, you stick it into the ZK coprocessor. The ZK coprocessor, processes all of that data, right? And then from there, you're able to take that data and create proofs with it and send it to a smart contract. And that smart contract will be able to verify the proof and then automatically send the funds to projects that were impactful. right? So yeah, the funds are upfront committed to this smart contract, right? And so like the idea here is that because the funds are committed to a smart contract, the only way to get the funds out of the smart contract are paying the funds to projects that are earning retroPGF, right? So this is what I mean by a credible commitment to the payout of retroPGF. And it becomes kind of permissionless here because we can design it in a way where anyone can submit these proofs, and then the funds will automatically be paid out. So there actually is a project, Lagrange Labs. They proposed building this because they're working on ZK coprocessors, and so there's people out here thinking about it. And yeah, that is the end of my talk. So any questions? What's up? Do we have a mic?
Okay, hi. I have two questions. First of all, on the second part of your presentation, automatically measuring the impact of a project. It seems to me that, for example, in your case, you're a blockchain, the measurable impact is transactions or gas or something like this. On a social network, it could be interactions or signups or something like this. What these types of metrics leave out are the tools to create these results. For example, in your case, a new development tool for solidity or debugging, this tool will never have any impact that you can measure. But it's what enables what you actually measure. So this is the first thing. And usually these projects are the ones that most of the people voting, I don't know how the OP funds voting goes, but these are usually the projects that people are not aware of, because they are the ones that the few developers use and they are not aware of them.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great point, right? This sort of scheme the payout mechanism should not be all prescriptive, in my opinion, because there's not going to be one payout scheme that captures everything. So I kind of see this as like one of many, right? And if we think about blockchain economies, right? Providing liquidity for, say, a lending market or something, right? That could be that could give like a lot of utility to the blockchain economy, depending on like what's happening on it, right? So I think that we kind of need to figure out like what sorts of on-chain activities stimulate the blockchain economy, and then come up with narratives around that to get people to understand like doing this thing helps the entire blockchain grow, and so you're going to be rewarded for it.
Okay. So one more question regarding the issuance of a token as a bet, as a prediction of the funding. Doesn't this create an incentive mechanism for the people who vote for funding to directly capture this value? For example, if I'm in a committee and my vote will determine which project will get funding, or to some point, to some degree, don't you give me a direct way to monetize this? I can buy the token today, and I can vote tomorrow, and I can capture the value of my vote, actually.
Yeah, totally. It does create a more direct possibility, right? Like this is possible today, but just out of band, right? Like off-chain.
But today you will also need the creator to work with the person. I mean, the creator to take the money and then give it back.
Totally. So you are right that it creates like a more direct way. I don't know if I can necessarily like comment on that too deeply, but it does seem like existing laws would disallow that. But you are right. You know, obviously, like in traditional markets, people do illegal things all the time. So I don't really know exactly in this case.
Hello? Okay. So I have a little answer for that, and it's because I'm a badge holder, so I will be voting for this round. And there is a really interesting thing about reputation. As badge holders, we put our reputation, we put our skin in the table, and that makes us be really careful with our voting. So for example, I'm being much more clear with my conflict of interest because I'm so afraid that my reputation is on game. So that is my answer on that side. But for the other side, for example, I'm a project that is participating, I'm part of Ethereum Mexico, and I don't know, Mark, I'm afraid that, I don't know, like, I was thinking Ethereum Mexico, for example, if we launch our token and someone buy it, like, I'm afraid to put ourselves in the risks of the market because the market is a badge, you know, like they always try to take advantage and try to inflate the price and to get the benefit. It's like really a human thing, and I don't know if I feel comfortable with this idea. Like, is there a way to protect the project of this like wild market?
Yeah, I mean, there are things like rails, like you could, you know, make a token that is only, say, transferable to like particular people. And if you have, say, over-the-counter investors that you know that are willing to like take a little bit of risk instead of just like opening it up to everyone. But you are completely right, like the free market is pretty wild out there. I don't know if like, I'm just thinking back to 2017 with like the ICO days and stuff like that and how wild it was and all of the crazy, weird internet people that came out and like bought your token and like, you know, stalked you on the internet and all of that stuff. So all of that is obviously not good. I'm hoping that we can, you know, eventually build the infrastructure to be able to do this in a responsible way that doesn't involve all of the crazy meme tokens and the, you know, all the crazy internet people.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. It was end of the day, and it was amazing. Which concludes our day at the pact. Thank you for being here at the end of the day. This was like one of the most engaging panels. So thanks again, and there's a workshop, which is the last one. If you have any energy left, it's in the workshop room 1. And thank you, everyone. Have a great night. And see you around.